For the lab assignment, you are going to be creating your own grid view page, and you can model it after the Zen page. Or I have some additional examples for you. The My Grid View example is similar to Zen, but there is only this page. These links are to different sites. Okay, so it's taken a moment for that bottom graphic to show up, but this is basically what the site looks like. It does incorporate mobile first and grid view. So as you I'll probably have to go into the developer panel to show you this, but as you choose, different devices, it does adjust. Okay, so this is a phone. And we can do an iPad. And then if I get rid of this, we can see the desktop view. Okay, so this is one example. Then I did two different versions of this monster program. Or I should say monster page. This first one, there's like a little menu bar up here. Okay, and I just put icons in it instead of text. And then if you pause over, the opacity changes and the size decreases and you see the text. So this is done using the tooltip that you've already worked with in lesson 9 and changing opacity. And then you can see that I am also changing the box shadow on the hover. And each of these pictures is a link. Okay, and this is also a responsive page. Okay, so if I go into the developer panel, okay, so you can see here would be the phone view. And the hover obviously doesn't work very well. You have to click, to see the effects when you're in the phone view. Okay, and also with these buttons, you would have to click to see the effects. But there would be the phone view. Here's the iPad view. And you saw the desktop view. The other one, the other variation, this is probably my favorite, is my flip example. So the buttons in the menu are kind of fun because they spin. And then I've got these little tiles that flip. And so how did I do this? Well, I set a size and then I made each graphic a background image, which I centered. Use background position to center. And then you can see when we display it, I've got a little link to the site and I've got some text. And so this is also responsive. Okay, so if we go into the developer panel, and I'm just pressing F12. Okay, so this is the iPad view. And you can scroll by kind of dragging. And to get it to flip, you have to click on it. And let me show the phone view. So here's the phone view. And you already saw the desktop view. And this little link does link out to another page. So for all of these, if you're wondering, how in the heck did she do that? If you right click and you go to view page source, you can see my HTML. And you can also see the CSS that I used. Okay, and all these examples do meet the requirements of the lab assignment. This project you can use as a basis for your term project or your final project in this class. So you may want to take a little more time on this and do something that you like because you'll be able to reuse it. But the HTML requirements are listed. The viewport meta tag, the keywords meta tag with the keywords for the description and keywords. So I can show you those too. So you can see I've got my meta tags, I've got the description and the keywords here, and I've got viewport. You need at least 2 images with names and alternate text that reflect the keywords or content of the page. And all the images should have responsive sizing. Now, for the one where I put the images in the background, that's actually not possible to have alternate text. So, depending on what you do, if you have everything in the background like this, it is okay if you don't have alt text. The other ones all do have alt text because they're just normal images. You need both print and screen CSS, and they do have to be linked in. And the links, the positioning of the links is kind of important. So your screen CSS should, and your print CSS should come at the bottom of the links, and you want the screen CSS before the print. And it's really important for the print that you have media equals print. Okay, so the order is important where you put the links. You need to add grid view classes to the sections of the HTML that should display in that responsive format. You should have at least one H1 tag, at least 3 links in a nav element. So what I did is I actually put those font awesome icons into a navigation menu. Okay, and so that's how I met the link requirement and the nav requirement. You need a paragraph in a section or a div element. And you need to create an additional section element or an aside element that contains content. You can use it for images or text. So you have to have something in the body of your page. Okay, so here you can see, I have unordered lists. These are all contained within a div because I've got the flip card thing going on. But, I've got a heading in here and I have links. So I've got a lot of additional content. And even in this one, okay, there is additional content. Okay, so if you look, I've got div and I've got that tip class in there. I've got the link, I've got images, I've got the text that displays. So lots of additional content in this as well. Let's see. You should have a title for your page that's in the header section, and you need a footer section that includes ampersand copy followed by your name. If you want to use the HTML structure that we used for the Zen pages, this is pretty much the structure for that. Otherwise, you can kind of look at what I did, or you can come up with something completely on your own. The CSS for your screens, you do have to have grid view with a default for mobile. And let me show you, this is the monster flip. And I'm going to pull up the CSS here. So where I normally put the grid CSS is at the bottom. And so this is going to be default, the width of 100%, float left. I've got padding and I have it centered. Okay. And then you can see that it changes for, actually this would be tablet. I'll have to change that. Hold on a second. Okay, much better. So this is for tablet. And then we've got desktop. And really the only difference is that I've got an M in here. Otherwise, the settings are very similar. But what you will notice in the HTML is that for my classes, I'm including both the desktop and the tablet classes. And the default is mobile. Okay. So if it's a mobile device, it's just going to ignore these. Okay. And that is because of the media queries. So if we look, this is only going to be in effect if the minimum width is 600 or larger. Okay, then it'll look at these settings. And if the minimum width is 900 or larger, then it's going to look at these settings. Okay, and if the width of the device was like 450, it would just be using whatever we have as the default. Okay. So make sure that you have grid view and the default is mobile. Then you'll add those breakpoints for tablets and desktop that I just showed you. And in your breakpoints, if you need to adjust the font size or anything else, you can. And I thought I did that in some of these. Let me see. Let's see, Monster Mesh. Yeah, I did do that. So in not the flip one, but the other one, you'll see that I did do some additional styling. When we got to, and I'll have to change this again to tablet, hold on. So when I changed to tablet size, I didn't like the size of the text. Remember that I set up the size for mobile. Okay, so basically there is no size increase. But when I go to tablet, I did want the H1, my heading 1, to increase in size. And then when I went to desktop, I wanted heading 1 even bigger, and I wanted heading 2 and 3 to change size. So in these media queries, not only are you specifying the columns, but anything else that needs to be adjusted, you can change inside the media query. Just keep that in mind. That's part of the reason that they're at the bottom of your CSS. Let's see. So we've got grid view, we've got media queries. In your HTML, you should have at least 2 columns. My examples have 3. And then when you get down to mobile, I think it goes down to 2 columns. And we also looked at examples of converting the Acme site over to grid view, and those examples have 2 columns. So, you know, whether you have 2 or 3 columns, totally up to you. All elements do need to use box sizing, set to border box. And remember, this is the one that is responsive because the width includes the padding. It includes not just the content, padding and borders are all included. Okay, so make sure you use border box. For your H1 tag, that does need to be styled. Font family, color, a responsive size, and text shadow are a minimum. You need a menu with at least 3 links. All the link states should be styled, so you can select the colors and the effects. You need at least 1 image that is not in the background. And so I will count icons as images. So if you did something like my flip example, which I'm not even sure if it's up now. Let's see. So my flip example has a lot of images that are in the background. Okay, this is a background image on the header and footer, and each of these little tiles have background images, but I also have icons. So I will count those as images because those are not in the background. Okay, so you do need to have images, at least 1 image that's not in the background, include background colors or background images in at least 2 different sections. All images and text need to be responsive. And this last one is super important, especially if you are copying CSS from one of your other pages. Do not include CSS that doesn't work. Okay. So you need to know what your CSS is doing. And if there's CSS in there that shouldn't be, you need to remove it. For printing, all images are hidden. The nav section or the menu should be hidden. All text should be black and 12 point. You should also have a readable font. The background color should be white. Borders, backgrounds, text shadows, box shadows, all of that are removed. Margins and padding should be 0. Width should be 100%. Links in the content areas that are not menus can display, but the color should be removed. And everything else should display as block, and it should not be side by side. So pages like this, when you go to print, they are not going to have much for printing. Okay, that's pretty much it, because it's all kind of menus and graphics. For this example, there's no way to print the flip side. What is super weird about this is the flip side actually prints backwards, if you can believe that. So I decided just to simply hide everything. And the same thing goes for the other example, this Monster Mash page. So pretty much everything is menus and graphics. So when we go to print this page, there's just not much that's going to print out. Okay, so depending on what you have for content, you might not have a lot printing out. The grid view page is going to have a little bit more. So when we look at the grid view page and we go to print, okay, we can print out some of the text. And that's just because we've got more text in the content area of the page. So, you know, depending on what you have in your page, that will determine, you know, what you're going to print and what you're going to hide. Oh, and I should point out for Font Awesome, if you're including Font Awesome like I did here, when you print, and this includes scripts too. We'll get into JavaScript. You don't want that printing out either. You want to add link and script with display none. and that will prevent all of the Font Awesome code, because you definitely don't want the code for those libraries to print out, because that could get ugly. So hiding link is going to prevent any code from Google and Font Awesome. It'll prevent that from printing. And so that is pretty much the assignment. Once you are done, you're going to add links to your assignment page, get everything transferred, and then you will submit done to the Dropbox. If you do have any problems, make sure that you transfer your pages, and then you can go ahead and email me for help. But I do need to see your code, especially with CSS. If you send me screenshots, I'm really not going to be able to help you, because CSS is cascading, which means that code that's further on is going to override earlier code. So I need to see everything. Okay. Hopefully you guys will have fun with this, and let me know if you run into problems.